Okay, so yeah, that's the idea of how it can help you is that overall it's basically strengthening the integrity of your biofield. And so I'm going to get into talking about what the biofield is and what I've come to understand of it and what I've been taught through biofield tuning. I'm hoping I can share a screen here. And but I'm going to introduce you to Eileen McCusick, and this is her right here. And she's the founder of Biofield Tuning, and she's the author of the two books. The first one is Tuning the Human Biofield, Healing with Vibrational Sound Therapy. And then she also has this Electric Body, Electric Health. This is the more updated version. But she has spent over 25 years exploring the biofield using tuning forks. And she's been a massage therapist and sort of introduced that into her work and was able to pick up these energetic patterns that she was finding stored in people's biofield in the same places. And so she's calling this the biofield anatomy. I'll show you a picture of a chart here. This is just an image showing you kind of what the torus looks like. But are you familiar with this shape, Katrina? The torus, the toroid. And so we've got on the upper part here a northern pole that's connecting to the sun. It's like a battery terminal. And on the southern pole here is connecting to the earth. And so we have a bi-directional flow of energy that comes through. I'll show you this actually, this little thingy. It's sort of a good demo. But if you turn it this way, you actually see that it turns into the flower of life, the top of the torus. But this is just an example of what all toruses are doing. And even our Earth's magnetosphere, its biosphere, is working with this toroidal electrical structure, really. So the idea with tuning is that this biofield is actually a container of all the information about you, your entire lifetime, your timeline of all the events that have ever happened to you are stored as information within your field. And so when we tune, we're actually encountering all the information that might have, that needs to come into resonance and harmony. I'll explain more deeply about the process, but this is another chart kind of showing more pictures of what the torus is doing here, and how this is basically, we've seen images of layers of the subtle body. Maybe you've seen pictures of that, and the thing is that different people perceive it slightly differently. Some people may not perceive all the layers, and Barbara Brennan, for example, was very good at seeing all of that. And then there's other people who are seeing it slightly differently, but they all essentially are working with this toroidal model, which is this right here. So the biofield has that north and south pole that are interacting with the sun and the earth, and we're actually drawing in these energies into the body, into the biofield, when we do tuning and when you do grounding and when you just consciously connect to those sources. We're basically always connected, but with using the forks, you're focusing and sort of amplifying the signal and consciously drawing in those currents through the body. Let me see if I can just flip through.
Well, when it gets to the bottom, does it switch? Does it make like a figure eight? Is that the way, or does each side is a sphere and it just keeps going around and around?
I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I feel like with what's going on with the subtle energy and your ability to visualize and sense is that it's interactive. Yes, there's the basic structure of it flowing out and it's recirculating back into the biofield. Like it comes, I don't know if you can see that. It comes around the outer edge. And so if it's coming down through the central channel, it's flowing back up and around the outer edge. And that's how it's creating a stronger electrical charge around the battery. And so we have a bi-directional flow of current coming in through the central channel and wrapping up around the edge. And then the Earth star, Sun star, those are energy centers that are kind of just like a main battery terminal that's situated 8 to 12 inches below your feet and then above the head. Did that answer your question, Siskiyew? I'm not sure about the figure eight so much, if that's part of the structure of the electrical system, but it
Uh-huh.
is something that you can overlay in your visualization. And it gets kind of interesting, actually, if I go back to this picture here. If you look at this picture, it might be hard to see, but what I'm sensing with this figure eight is that it's actually a movement of energy through the torus. It's actually
Mm.
where you can see these lines here. It's a movement. It's actually where they get the Hebrew alphabet, I think, from. If you can look
Huh.
into that, these letters came from the movement, but that
Huh.
might have something to do with it. But the figure eights are a pliable, energetic construct that you can insert into when you're working with your energy centers in your field. Okay.
Okay.
So that's that. Biophotons. So we've got basically our whole body. We run on electricity. Everything in our body is very electrically sensitive. We can measure a lot of it with some of our equipment that we have now, and some of it is so subtle that we don't quite have the equipment to detect it yet. But it's getting better. The machinery is, and so in biofield tuning, one of the goals is to help you bring your brain waves into a state of on this cusp of alpha and theta, which is relaxation, visualization, creativity, being meditative, having intuition, and connecting to memories. It's basically very relaxed and yet very aware. Sometimes it can feel like you're in a just a sleep state almost in a tuning session, but you're quite alert. And so this is something else here that has to do with your subtle energy. Biophotons are emitted by all living organisms, mammals and humans. And so what can happen under stressful situations is we actually leak this light out of our central channel, out of the flow. And it can become entangled. The light biophotons can become trapped in chaotic waveforms that get stuck out in the field. And so when they are trapped like that, they aren't in flow with the rest of your body's electrical system. And so that's just kind of a one of the things that's happening with tuning is that we come in with the fork and it acts as kind of a detangler, and it creates a coherent wave there so
Mm.
that it releases it and allows it to get shuttled back into flow through the central channel. Chakras are running as we know about chakras a little bit, but the reality is that these chakras are deeply connected to the interior of our body. They're a part of our nervous system. These spinning wheels of light and funnels have a tip on them that reach into the endocrine system and the nerve plexi. And so we have them, it doesn't show it on here, but we have them on the front and we have them on the back. And this is how we're sensing our environment and our world around us. It's how we metabolize energy around us. And so this is showing you this crown and the root don't have the back sides, but these do. This is from Barbara Brennan's books. Okay, let me make sure before. There's another picture of a torus with all of these layers and layers and layers. And potentially these fields are infinite. Yes, we have our biofield boundary and our edge, but we potentially are connecting infinitely to all kinds of other waves and fields. So this is an image of our Earth's magnetosphere and how it's basically running on the same shape here. We get energy coming in from the sun, comes in and activates this global electrical circuit, and becomes part of what we know as the Schumann resonance, which is like the heartbeat of the Earth. Schumann resonance is the standing waves between the Earth and the ionosphere. It's like all the electrical activity of lightning strikes, and it bounces back and forth and holds this 7.83 hertz. And it's basically the frequency that all life comes out of. And when we bring our brain waves into that state in resonance with the Earth and the Schumann resonance, we become very relaxed, grounded, present, and connected to Earth and our place on the Earth, and we feel safe. So that's Eileen again. Let's see these things. We're going to talk a
So
little bit. Go ahead.
on the Schumann resonance, because I get data from a fella and it sounds like it goes all over the place. Like it's run up to like 40 something, 60 something. Are we talking about the same thing?
I know I think I might know the gentleman you're talking about, and there's a little bit of back and forth about that. And as far as what data he's getting from all of those machines that they're using to detect is supposedly are broken, and I'm not sure that I would 100% trust exactly what he's saying on that note. I know a lot of people will follow the Schumann resonance and go, "Oh, it's up and it's down, it's this and that," but this stays the same, and it has to do what he's reading maybe impacts on specific locations, but that current that comes and hits the Earth is induction, like it spreads all out, it spreads all around, and so yeah, I wouldn't say, just based on other people that I've listened to, I'm not an expert, but I wouldn't ride too much on that information, because this is the heartbeat of the Earth is steady. What changes is with space weather, and we get impacts and whatnot. But that's just depends on what side of the Earth is facing the sun. You know, there's a lot of other bits that go into that. We'll talk more about space weather. I have some indexes and things to go through.
Sorry if I look distracted. I'm trying to keep this dog away from licking her paws because she has like allergies, and I'm just like, I don't want her to tear herself to bits.
No, it's fine. I get it. I love that you take care of dogs. Okay. I'm gonna maybe backtrack a little bit and just talk a bit about this emerging cosmology that's coming in, and this will help perhaps understand how distance sessions work and how it is that we can just kind of a new understanding even of the biofield and what it's made of. Like it's hard to describe what subtle energy is. But let's take a moment and talk about the emerging cosmology. So we're synthesizing this academic and esoteric knowledge. The old view, or what's the standard view of our universe, is that it's finite. So we've got Big Bang Theory. This separation of the universe is going to lead to suffering, dissipated heat death. That's the story that we're told. The black holes and dark matter, mathematical formulas, constructs. We're told the sun is nuclear furnace of hot gas, and it's going to burn itself out. And so we've got Newtonian physics, three states of matter, nature and the body are purely chemical, mechanical. So that doesn't sound like where we're heading. And the idea there is that it's entropy, which is the tendency for matter to lose order in a closed system. And so it's teaching us that the world is winding down. We've got very strong political structures and a decaying society. This is reflective of our cosmology. But now we have new information. And that leads to new understanding. And so we are learning that the universe is actually infinite. It's following the electric universe theory. We are all network of interconnected electrodynamics in space that generate a torsion spin, forming into plasma and into filaments called the Birkeland currents, electrically charged particles of space dust and stars. So the sun is a dynamic electric plasma fueled by intergalactic electrical currents. And the solar wind is a stream of positive charged electrical particles being received by the negative charge of the earth. And so in this view, everything's connected. We have a word that you might not be familiar with because they want to call it negentropy, but Eileen is calling it syntropy, which is just a nicer sounding of word of things coming together. And syntropy is the perpetual movement of order from here to there. It's an infinite system. And so in this world, it's abundant with possibility. We have unity that's on the rise, and we create thriving societies. When we understand in our cosmology that we actually don't burn out, like energy isn't going to die off. If something is going away, the energy of that is always going to be going somewhere else, creating something new. Is the idea. Okay. And so kind of skipping, I have a little presentation I'm looking at here. We talked about, oops. Yeah. So it's kind of like you can choose what kind of cosmological model do you want to live in, and are you trusting what your senses tell you? Can you trust your inner knowing, or do we just buy into what they say? The world is this, and that's it. You can't look beyond this because science says so. It's just ridiculous. So we've got just a little bit about what's ether, how do we get ether back into the cosmology? What's that about? Well, we know about the platonic solids and how they represent the fire, air, earth, and water. But what they've taken out of our construct is ether. And so ether is basically space. It's what's holding everything together. It's the connective medium that all electromagnetic waves arise out of. All sound, light, electricity, magnetism, matter is condensed out of the ether from light and sound. So that's pretty amazing when we flip it around like that. We realize that we're actually the condensation, the pressurized of light coming together, but that our original, where we all come from, is space. Stardust, minerals, carbon, water, that's what we're all made of. And that's why we can connect from a distance, is because nothing ever really got disconnected. It's all filaments of light, and it's like this fine electrical system. Maybe you've seen those pictures of like what your brain neurons look like and how that compares to the structure of the connection of lights in space. Space is not, the universe is full of 99% plasma. So, I mean, we come from this. And so for science to just box us into this mechanical construct of way of seeing things is not doing anybody any favors. So yeah, ether is, you'll hear of it as referred to as the unified field, the 0 point field, the akasha. It's a matrix. It's very ordered. It creates torsion, which is spin. And so it's kind of like spinning forces, condensing things together and creating stars and galaxies. But it's essentially all unexpressed energy and all potential energy as well. Okay, and then a little bit about what plasma does. Something interesting, a feature of plasma is that it actually, like the sun, it'll envelop itself around something and create a bubble. And so that's what we have, basically. Our biofield is like this plasma bubble. But it's so that's how it creates the sheaths that we talk about, the double layer membrane sheaths, just like cells do. And so that's the protective outer edge boundary of your biofield that's happening because of the bidirectional flow of electric current. And so that's a protective aspect of your biofield. When we connect with that, just with our minds and running energy, and when you do your meditations and visualizations, just sensing that there's a boundary can be very helpful, because what we've also been taught as we learn more about what's going on here and what Eileen is showing is that that's highly useful to know about. I have found that I work with that. Katrina, I think you appreciate that, just with sensitive people in general, just to know that we are not like, there's not some amorphous soup of energy between us, but that you have protection around you. It's like a skin. Okay.
Does it
So
vary in size depending on like if you're feeling low? Is it in
absolutely.
the body? If you're elated, it's expanded, or
Yes,
memory
absolutely.
itself moves?
Exactly. Yes, it's it changes, and there no two people are gonna have the same presentation. It depends on your moods also. But the main thing that can happen is like with the stress and just living on Earth and the things that we have to come up against is that it becomes compact and it wants to tuck in. That Earth star and Sun star want to come in and be more protective around you. And so tuning helps you expand that out and take up more space around you. Um, I want to get into a little bit about this electric health. So, your body is electrically conscious. And so, there's an awareness that you can develop about what is lowering your voltage. You know, we talk about raising vibrations and high frequencies, but really it's more about voltage and not just being in a high state, but being able to be present with what is. So this is kind of interesting. When you get into the lows, we don't want to eliminate those tones from what we feel and just all rise above it and be up here and without acknowledging this deep bass tone down here, this wanting attention. And so electric health is more about authenticity with what is in the moment. So we get chronic exposure to stress builds up as energetic tension. It diminishes your range of breath, strains your electromagnetic field and the cellular matrix within your body. Different types of stress: adrenal, fight, flight, social types of stress, electropathic stress from EMF, wireless stuff, just our buildings, the way cities are built, frequency netting. You know, cities have what I've been calling frequency netting because that's what it feels like. And you probably know exactly what I'm talking about when you walk into a Costco or a Home Depot or something, and it's just this huge impact. So we've got traumas and dramas, and all of these things can distort our resonance and what we're connecting with. So fear, anxiety, depression. Um, this impacts a pathological impression in the record of your energy field. So it becomes a node where a static is in interfere with the signal for wholeness. Yes, biofield compaction, insulation from natural healthy energy. It's biorhythm system dysregulation to your endocrine system, your immune system, digestion, lymph, blood, circulation, and respiration. So those are things that lower your electrical health. And so now we'll talk about what helps raise your voltage. So
Are you talking about
authenticity.
the same thing as your aura when you say your biofield? I mean, are
Yes,
they interchangeable?
they are interchangeable words. Yeah. Biofield is a word that has been accepted by the scientific community because they used it in published papers talking about studies of the human aura, but they choose to use the word biofield. And I think I'm just going to continue with that use based on how I've been taught with Eileen's work and that she's using it. And it's kind of a bridge word so that when we do talk to people who are perhaps more of a science logic and are resistant or skeptical to this stuff, it's a little more of an easy way to approach the subject. Or aura, which I love that word, has so many connotations, and people might reject that word just based on, oh, that's that other stuff. I don't get into that. You know, I don't want to talk about that.
But what happens when two people like say you hug somebody and they're really depressed, and you hug somebody.
You cut out a little bit, Siskiyew. Your connection has stalled.
You're hugging somebody that's,
Oh,
really down and out.
so Siskiyew, you kind of cut out a little bit, but I heard that you were talking about what if you hug somebody that's maybe not feeling well? That's a good question.
Yeah.
And what happens? Um, well, you become an electron donor is what happens. And so we've all been around people that will do that, and perhaps you really love and care for that person, and that's okay if they want to be in your field to come into some. Sometimes people will use grounded people as a place to ground, is what I've been noticing. And so they want to hang around you because they notice they feel better when they're around you, and they can just start unloading, and they feel relaxed, right? So if you're really conscious of that and present with yourself while that person is with you, and you just send it straight down to the ground, you can hold space essentially for that person and let that process through your body if you
Hmm.
want to. If somebody is doing that and you don't like it and you want them to stop trying to use you as a grounding rod, then that's going to take more of working with your outer boundary and sort of a kind of claiming that space between you and the edge of your biofield. And a person might, and you're just working on your end, and the person might keep talking and talking, but you're just standing your ground and not letting that come into you, not coming through you. Eventually they'll stop, and because they'll notice they're not really getting anywhere with that behavior. So does that help?
Yeah, I mean, I felt that even, I used the example of a hug, but even a phone conversation sometimes, like some conversations, like there's one person I'm getting closer to her because we're doing the Venus sequence work together. And some of the conversations just, she's so dissonant that I'm kind of like, I need to smudge and I need to like do some stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't want to say, well, I'm not gonna interface with you anymore.
Right. Right.
Finding as my sensitivity grows, the challenges come along with that too.
Yeah.
Where in the past, I probably wouldn't have been able to connect the dots as to what was going on, and I probably would have said, well, we're just not in the same flow. So find another friend,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're kind of stepping into taking on the protocols of energy hygiene. You're working with somebody. Maybe you're not a healing practitioner, but you are kind of. We all are our own healers. And when you are in that space with somebody, you're becoming like a practitioner. And so, what I do after every session, you have to go and release and ground, and you can consciously send energy back to them that belongs to them. I just do that, and I'll sit. You can use the tuning forks and sit and listen for a moment and focus while you're just guiding that out of your field. You're connecting with it. You're saying, is there any residual energy of this person? And it might pop up like, yeah, I'm still thinking about them. They're still, you're thinking about it an hour later. You shouldn't be. It should be release it. Sometimes after tuning sessions, I'll go to the creek and take all of my forks with me, and I have to spend a lot of time, like I need a deep clean
Oh,
just to
wow.
release stuff because it gets heavy. There's heavy stuff that comes up. I don't want to go to bed thinking about it. So it's like a prayer to release the moment and the energy back to them, because yeah, it can linger, especially if they like to leave things around your house, and brings them up like, oh. So yeah, electrons. And so when people are drawing electrons off of us and you feel drained, you gotta replenish. um, I'll talk a little bit about authenticity because this is probably one of the cornerstones of being electrically healthy and strong biofield, is to not hold back electrical impulses of emotions, tears, desires, words, truths, because that has charge and power and it will shift your environment. Sitting with the moment when our strings get plucked, allowing yourself the freedom to express and move energy through the body without judgment. Notice when you come into a place that makes you go, ugh. Notice when you come into a place that makes you go, ah, ah. Just noticing. So you're finding what you love, the updrafts, things that lift you up, and the things that bring you down. Where does the energy want to go? Where is there resistance? Electrons. So we can revitalize our connection to the earth and the sun, bring in more current through the biofield and body. And just like I was saying, knowing what steals your power and what gives you energy, discernment of energetic qualities, maintaining energetic integrity. Hang around other electron people that have a lot of electrons. They're electron donors. You can be a person that hangs around an electron donor and kind of soak some of that up, being mindful of your own energy. You can use toning, your voice sounds, and that will tune and tone your body, your whole vocal system. Sound, play, joy, things that lift you up, levity, bring you up. Yeah, electric hygiene, we talked about that. So it's just management, emotional, mental, biofield management of your field as it's intersecting with all the surrounding fields all the time. The only thing you have control over, really, is that biofield. That's pretty much it. Other people are going to do what they're going to do. So that self-care protocols, grounding, coming into resonance with the earth where you can discharge, just sending your breath down through the bottoms of your feet and dropping it into the earth, drawing energy up from the earth, bringing it up into your body, just a continual movement, connecting with it. Deep breathing. It's really hard to get those deep breaths in sometimes. Get fresh air in, really fresh air. Go barefoot as much as you can. Get sun exposure. A detox from your devices if you need to. Have some kind of a meditation routine, even if it's 5 minutes. 5 minutes a day is still good. Anything, really, because that's going to help you stay more clear and present with yourself. You want clean water, of course. Clean food. The best that you can get for yourself is going to help your electrical system stay strong. Be mindful of sounds that you take into your body, whether it comes from music or movies, other people talking, your environment, the media, of course. Be mindful of that, how it's affecting you. Be mindful to not, maybe right before bed, take in that information. And then moving your energy is good. So energy regulation, stretching the fascia to release chronic holding and tension in the body. Fascia is going to store lots of charge and prevent you from taking those deep breaths and feeling the flow of energy. Okay. So we've kind of covered a lot of that. We've covered a little bit about a lot about the biofield, but I'll get into a little bit about Eileen's thesis of what's going on with the biofield and these energetic patterns of imbalance, which is what we're doing with tuning, essentially, is working with energetic patterns of imbalance that she has noticed that fall on the right and left sides of the body. And they have sort of a yin and yang polarity to them. And so we can work with the mother's side of the lineage or the father's side. But essentially, with a tuning session, we are starting on the outer edge of your biofield. And as soon as I put a fork out there and start sensing into connect, I'm going to get a drink of water, excuse me. So as soon as I put that fork and start listening and detecting the outer edge of your field, it's basically like putting a needle on a record, and it's going to start interacting with your body immediately. Your whole body is listening to what's happening. So you're listening with your ears, but your body is sensing on all the other different pathways. And that's a lot of what we're doing with tuning, is listening and sitting back and being receptive to what you notice is happening inside the body as we encounter different places in the biofield. And so, like a needle on a record, it starts picking up information. And the person on the table is going to have an experience and I'm going to have an experience, and we're going to listen for a while, and then I will share or they will share first, doesn't matter. Like, this is what I'm noticing right here. And we're paying attention. I'm listening to not only just the sounds of the forks, but the vibration, the tone, the language that's coming from the forks, but then also whatever information wants to be seen, um, or shown. I guess sometimes I get a lot of visuals. It just depends on the practitioner how they sense. But some people just sense in their body. But I pretty much try to open up all pathways of perception when I'm working on somebody. I'll open up feeling through the body, feeling emotions, my heart, feeling, hearing sounds, seeing clearly, just however it wants to drop in, and just direct kind of knowing. So there's a lot of integrity with the clarity of focus that I have when I work with people. And so I don't ever know what I'm going to encounter. I'm like, you put a fork out there and then, like, boom, information comes in. And the client, basically your job in a session is to lie there and be present with your breathing, keeping that open, and just noticing what your body is doing, because it's quite interesting once you change your awareness to, like, oh, what's my body doing in this tuning session. You'll sense different things for different people, but it could be like little electrical pulsations flowing through the body. You might get all of a sudden an area that's starting to bother you even, and become like, ooh, that's hurt all of a sudden out of nowhere. And it's because we're finding where this information out in your field is being stored in the body too. And so that's places of tension. Maybe it's your tailbone or the back of your neck or something. And so with the forks, what it's doing is working with resonance and entrainment. So it's picking up chaotic distortions, static, things that are interfering with your signal. And then it's matching that. And your body hears it, and it will sense that this is out of tune. This is a distortion of that sound, and it wants to actually come into harmony. It's super intelligent and recognizes dissonance. So a sound of a fork that might pick up the tone of fear, anxiety, or sadness, panic. I mean, I'm still learning, but I'm noticing there's a language that it's communicating with, and you can recognize it. And so we use different forks to modulate those disturbances. If it's a really sad tone, maybe I'll bring in a higher frequency to brighten it up. Or if it's a really stuck place that's like a firm, you're not getting past this, it'll be like a wall, and it's almost like you need to shatter the glass with the right vibration and kind of work in a different, maybe it takes a little longer, but it's very perceptible in between both people. And then it will lift and it'll soften, and the sound becomes coherent and clear, and I start bringing it closer into the body. So I'm moving from the outer edge towards the body the whole time, and then making my way towards the central channel, where I'm basically depositing your own energy back into your biofield through the energy centers. And each session is not done on all of the chakras, but we actually will use a pendulum to let your body tell me what needs work today. And it's better to work that way than to go, oh, my neck hurts, can you work on my throat chakra? Because there's underlying things that you might need to get to before your throat chakra is ready to be worked on. So it could be the left knee or something that we work on that plane of the body and draw in. So that's basically the idea with tuning, is we're working with energetic patterns and harmonizing them into the present moment. People feel more like themselves after tuning sessions. They feel more present, calm, clear, grounded. And that next time when they come across something that maybe in the past was really ruffling their feathers, this time they have a different response. So it's changing the relationship between the pattern. It's not actually getting rid of anything. You're not cutting things off of you and taking them out. We're changing the relationship, the harmony, the coherence.
I like that explanation because I find like sometimes with this kind of work, it's not that people are trying to say this, but I feel like sometimes it's like at the end of the day, we still have to interact with people
Yeah.
who like might ruffle our feathers. And I'm like, I think to just like to go in the world and like, you know, say be godlike or be like Christ like. I'm like, I still want to do that. Like, I don't want to just cut people out. And that feels more like wholesome. Um, but I guess one question I have is like, how did you get into this? And two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I pet sit at people's houses, for example. So I'm like, can this help me develop? I know you say like a protection, but it's like um not avoiding what I pick up, but having like a protective barrier. Like how does that work when you go like following the session, you'll go somewhere and maybe in the previous time you would have picked up, oh, this person's depressed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like you ever get to a point where you're like, maybe you see it, but you don't feel it so much because you're not like holding it within yourself?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Is that you're not resonating with it is the big thing that's happening. And that
Right.
can be still be challenging. It's not like I've been doing this for a year and it's not perfect all the time. You know what I mean? But it's gotten a lot better. I have kind of a high strung nervous system,
Mm,
and I've been living out in the woods for 20 years, and so going to town, it's a whole ordeal. It's become easier though. It's become much easier because I feel like I have tools to protect myself, and I've learned how to refocus myself and my energy to be kind of, it's almost like sitting back, if you might take it as that. You're sitting back and kind of resting on in a balance on your tailbone, your pelvis. You're getting your posture going good, right? You're just coming back, because I think people who are sensitive and curious are kind of always projecting, like, oh, what is this about, what is that. So when you're in somebody's home, it's probably, I don't know if you do this or not, but there might be, maybe you're curious, or maybe like you're looking around and noticing their stuff or whatever, their stuff. Wherever your eyes and your attention is going, it's connecting with their stuff and their things. That
mm,
will be challenging for me to have that job, but I would imagine like you can do this by just focus on yourself and your biofield and that environment around you, because that's everything else. You're not going to tune the whole house in the room, like, but you can choose you can choose to not let your field connect with those things. And there's practices that you would like
mhm.
to continue with, just to get a sense of how it's just basically connecting to the ground. Send a huge taproot, send that to the core of the earth, and just feel yourself being like on an axis of position where you're straight up and down on that. And then you connect to the sun and you bring that in. I mean, if you want, we can do a mini little tuning at the end here, kind of closing at the end of our hour.
Sure.
Just to sense, like, what do you feel? What do you think you can sense from a distance, huh? I've got all my forks here. And then we'll just run, we'll do a quick grounding and connect to the earth and the sun. Does that seem okay with you, Siskiyew?
Sure.
All right. So I'm going to use 174 hertz. This is kind of my main working fork. And what I'm going to ask everybody to do is just start. You can close your eyes if you want, get comfortable, and just start taking a few really deep breaths. Just let your consciousness really drop inside of your body as you sense a rhythmic wave of breathing. You're just letting your lungs expand on the inhale and your belly be very soft. And then as you exhale, send your breath down. Contract the muscles of your abdomen and bring that breath all the way down through the bottoms of your feet. And just let your awareness kind of rest at the bottoms of your feet for a moment, connecting with the earth. Just let your attention at this point go down into the earth. Travel down and find your way into the core. Just bring with you that taproot, or just see that there's a very clear connection happening between your Earth star, which is just like a spherical shaped energy center below your feet, and the core of the Earth. So this can become a very sacred place for you if you want to return here anytime in your meditation and explore that space. It's very cleansing to tap into this place in the earth. So we're just
So we're
gonna
just gonna
start drawing energy up from that place and sense how it rises, kind of like a water geyser flowing up, and allow that to connect to your body, the bottoms of your feet, and just sense like an ascending, rising current coming through the legs, up into your tailbone, connecting with your spine, and your heart, and your neck, your cranium. Just let it move your body if you want to wiggle around, open up. Just checking in, really, if there's any like tightness that's resisting this current coming through. Breathe into that space, kind of power blast it through. But we're getting this sense of drawing up energy and letting it emerge through your crown. Kind of get a feel of how it cascades around the outer edge of your biofield, the whole infusing the toroidal structure of your field with this negative charge from the earth. Just seeing what you notice, being open and curious. And we're going to let your attention come up to the top of your head. Start connecting with your sun star, this positive charged energy center. Continuing to stay connected to your breath. And then we're going to draw energy from all the light above us, all the stars, and our personal star, the sun. Start pulling that energy in, connecting to your sun star. So this is a descending current. It flows through the crown and it pours through the body in this downward path like water. You can just sense this charge flowing through every part of your body, your whole nervous system, your arms, your hands, coming out your hands, flowing down, connecting with your hips and your tailbone again, and following it all the way down through the bottoms of your feet as it emerges, comes out, and wraps back up around the outer edge of the biofield, coming back down. Let's just take a couple of breaths and really connect with the sensation of a bidirectional flow through the central channel and the full scope of your biofield. Just get an awareness of it. While you're doing that, I will bring in a couple of other tones. be open to this communication pathway at any time. You can check in with yourself and check in with these points of awareness of your biofield. And when you feel stress and tension, you can always drop that down to the ground and give it to the earth because she knows how to deal with all of that. It's just energy. All right. That's just a little mini introduction to some sound. Um, and you might notice how the tones, some people find them to be irritating. And it's usually because they're holding a lot of stress in their body, and the sound is starting to break a defense where they're holding. So we breathe through those moments where if it feels uncomfortable, we kind of are supposed to breathe through it. Other people are just immediately, it sends you into like, your nervous system immediately relaxes. So, on a physiological level, tuning forks and their sounds have been associated with the production of nitric oxide in the body, which is expanding the space between your blood cells and opening the vascular pathways. So, that's one of the ways it's interacting with you. But fundamentally, biofield tuning regulates your nervous system. It brings you into a state where your body can do what it needs to do to come into harmony. And so we can focus into different areas, adrenals, rhythms, and endocrine rhythms of, different things. It can get pretty involved, but that's basically what I have found it to be about. How did you like that? Good. Yeah. Great, Siskiyew. How are you doing? All right, everybody, we're at the end of our hour here. I'm happy to answer any other last questions that you may have. I didn't get into space weather, Siskiyew. Let me mention real quick something about that. Basically, what's going on is Earth's magnetic. The Earth is going through a magnetic excursion. So the fields around the Earth are in a bit of a chaos flux, and this has been going on and will continue to go on. And so we're getting more space weather, which is just activity from the sun, but also deep space. It's because the Earth's shield is weakened. So we just have more sensitivity to that. It affects all animals and life and plants, migration patterns, and their magnetic sense, our magnetic sense, and it specifically is affecting our brains. And so we have in the back of the head here, behind the cerebellum, this specific part of the reticulating activating system that has to do with your response to fear and anxiety and panic into your environment. And so when we get extra space weather, this is getting impacted back here. And you'll notice that's partly why our world is in such chaos right now and why people are having such a hard time with maintaining just coherence, like mentally even. And so we get depression and anxiety and lots of dysregulation in the brain. And so you can focus when you are meditating or using a tuning fork or anything, just when you focus on that part of your body, or you notice that you're picking up on like a fear vibe, something going on, you can even just put your hands behind your head and just kind of check in with that place of your body and get a sense of and balance yourself on the planet, and just do the whole breathing, connecting to ground, and just telling yourself, like, because there's a whole what's called a mohawk of self-awareness. And so when we have a fear response, you got your amygdala and all this stuff going off, sending signals, this chain response reaction. But if we can catch it earlier before it sends us off into that response pattern, that could be helpful.
That's so interesting because, like, when people go to relax, they go to like this, like just instinctively. And I'm like, if people just paid attention to like the things they do, like they'd realize we're so intelligent.
Exactly.
And like, there's this practice I do where you hold your head down when you're laying down, and it like you just breathe deeply into it and like go to rest and digest.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
always right away, but it's a good like it's a nervous system repair practice and
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, exactly. So your body oftentimes will lead you before your conscious mind has a thought about it, really. So if you're, I notice that my body wants to like, if it'll start moving, I'm like, what do we do? Oh, we're going for a walk. Okay. Or I need to stretch. Great. Or, but if you put your hand, it's like you're always putting your hands somewhere where it needs, where you need soothing. And that's so helpful because this is like magnets, you can guide energy. And when you breathe, you can use your hands and your arms to draw the energy up and then sending it down. You can connect to heaven and earth. It's just
Mm.
doing that kind of movement. Um, yeah, but your reticulating activating system, this spot, the cerebellum, it's like the old part of the brain, and it's basically like it looks like a joystick. It's like it's all of your nerves are connecting back there that for your whole sensory awareness experience. And so, yeah, that's the spot I would tune into to help with space weather for sure. Okay, thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun. I hope to have more of these and that more people want to jump on and talk about it. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Hmm. Siskiyew, I think your video is paused. You might be talking. Okay, there, you're back. Okay. We'll be in touch, Siskiyew. We'll stay in touch about sessions. And Katrina, I want to gift you a session, your first session.
Are you sure?
I am. I'm
Oh,
absolutely sure. So you just let me know how that works for you, your schedule and whatnot, and we'll get
okay.
together. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, folks. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, Trina.
Bye. Nice meeting you.
Just being open and curious. And we're going to let your attention come up to the top of your head. Start connecting with your sun star, this positive charged energy center. Continuing to stay connected to your breath. And then we're going to draw energy from all the light above us, all the stars, and our personal star, the sun. Start pulling that energy in, connecting to your sun star. So this is a descending current. It flows through the crown and it pours through the body in this downward path like water. You can just sense this charge flowing through every part of your body, your whole nervous system, your arms, your hands, coming out your hands, flowing down, connecting with your hips and your tailbone again, and following it all the way down through the bottoms of your feet as it emerges, comes out, and wraps back up around the outer edge of the biofield, coming back down. Let's just take a couple of breaths and really connect with the sensation of a bidirectional flow through the central channel and the full scope of your biofield. Just get an awareness of it. While you're doing that, I will bring in a couple of other tones. Just be open to this communication pathway at any time. You can check in with yourself and check in with these points of awareness of your biofield. And when you feel stress and tension, you can always drop that down to the ground and give it to the earth because she knows how to deal with all of that. It's just energy. All right. That's just a little mini introduction to some sound. Um, and you might notice how the tones, some people find them to be irritating. And it's usually because they're holding a lot of stress in their body, and the sound is starting to break a defense where they're holding. So we breathe through those moments where if it feels uncomfortable, we kind of are supposed to breathe through it. Other people are just immediately, it sends you into like, your nervous system immediately relaxes. So, on a physiological level, tuning forks and their sounds have been associated with the production of nitric oxide in the body, which is expanding the space between your blood cells and opening the vascular pathways. So, that's one of the ways it's interacting with you. But fundamentally, biofield tuning regulates your nervous system. It brings you into a state where your body can do what it needs to do to come into harmony. And so we can focus into different areas, adrenals, rhythms, and endocrine rhythms of, different things. It can get pretty involved, but that's basically what I have found it to be about. How did you like that? Good. Yeah. Great, Siskiyew. How are you doing? All right, everybody, we're at the end of our hour here. I'm happy to answer any other last questions that you may have. I didn't get into space weather, Siskiyew. Can let me mention real quick something about that. Basically, what's going on is Earth's magnetic. The Earth is going through a magnetic excursion. So the fields around the Earth are in a bit of a chaos flux, and this has been going on and will continue to go on. And so we're getting more space weather, which is just activity from the sun, but also deep space. It's because the Earth's shield is weakened. So we just have more sensitivity to that. It affects all animals and life and plants, migration patterns, and their magnetic sense, our magnetic sense, and it specifically is affecting our brains. And so we have in the back of the head here, behind the cerebellum, this specific part of the reticulating activating system that has to do with your response to fear and anxiety and panic into your environment. And so when we get extra space weather, this is getting impacted back here. And you'll notice that's partly why our world is in such chaos right now and why people are having such a hard time with maintaining just coherence, like mentally even. And so we get depression and anxiety and lots of dysregulation in the brain. And so you can focus when you are meditating or using a tuning fork or anything, just when you focus on that part of your body, or you notice that you're picking up on like a fear vibe, something going on, you can even just put your hands behind your head and just kind of check in with that place of your body and get a sense of and balance yourself on the planet, and just do the whole breathing, connecting to ground, and just telling yourself, like, because there's a whole what's called a mohawk of self-awareness. And so when we have a fear response, you got your amygdala and all this stuff going off, sending signals, this chain response reaction. But if we can catch it earlier before it sends us off into that response pattern, that could be helpful.
That's so interesting because, like, when people go to relax, they go to like this, like just instinctively. And I'm like, if people just paid attention to like the things they do, like they'd realize we're so intelligent.
Exactly.
And like, there's this practice I do where you hold your head down when you're laying down, and it like you just breathe deeply into it and like go to rest and digest.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
always right away, but it's a good like it's a nervous system repair practice, and
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, exactly. So your body oftentimes will lead you before your conscious mind has a thought about it, really. So if you're, I notice that my body wants to like, if it'll start moving, I'm like, what do we do? Oh, we're going for a walk. Okay. Or I need to stretch. Great. Or, but if you put your hand, it's like you're always putting your hand somewhere where it needs, where you need soothing. And that's so helpful because this is like magnets, you can guide energy. And when you breathe, you can use your hands and your arms to draw the energy up and then sending it down. You can connect to heaven and earth. It's just
Mm.
doing that kind of movement. Um, yeah, but your reticulating activating system, this spot, the cerebellum, it's like the old part of the brain, and it's basically like it looks like a joystick. It's like it's all of your nerves are connecting back there that for your whole sensory awareness experience. And so, yeah, that's the spot I would tune into to help with space weather for sure. Okay. Thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun. I hope to have more of these and that more people want to jump on and talk about it. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Siskiyew, I think your video is paused. You might be talking. Okay, there you're back. Okay, we'll be in touch, Siskiyew. We'll stay in touch about sessions. And Katrina, I want to gift you a session, your first session.
Are you sure?
I am. I'm
Oh,
absolutely sure. So you just let me know how that works for you, your schedule and whatnot, and we'll get
okay.
together. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much, folks. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Trina.
Bye. Nice meeting you.